The Broadway Show is your all-access pass to the biggest shows and stars of the Broadway stage and beyond. I'm Tamsin Fidel. Welcome.
Yes, everything I do is for the gays.
Bottoms up, Broadway audiences are totally drinking the potion for the new musical comedy, Death Becomes Her. Of course, it's based on the iconic film, and it is hilarious.
I'll do just about anything to be a girl.
Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Hey ladies, I'm so thrilled you're back on Broadway together. How's it feeling to be launching this major Broadway musical?
I still don't really believe that it's real. Like, I know that we're all dressed up and we're having a fabulous time here today, but like, it's so grand and it's so wonderful, and so many elements of this, what you see on stage and what we experience off stage, are fabulous. So I'm still pinching myself every day.
This is also one of those titles, and you've both been in musicals like this, based on a movie that everybody's like, that should be a musical, right? You've been through that before, and this is one of those, right? I'm sure you experience this all the time in your regular life.
Oh yeah, I think I still have the ticket stub from when the movie came out somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, and I think everyone knew this would make a great musical, and I'm happy to report that not only is the movie as exceptional as it is, but what these writers and artists collectively have done to translate it to stage is one for the books. Isn't it really wonderful?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because it's one of the most iconic movies ever made. But what they've done is taken that and made it completely its own, while paying homage to what's been done before us. I'm really thrilled for people to experience it.
I'm thrilled for the opportunity of you two. I've loved both of you forever. I've followed your career for decades.
I mean, decade. We're only 20.
I just started.
So, yeah.
I just started this whole Broadway thing.
We'll go with plural. Sure.
Just a baby.
But it's not every day you get a lead in a brand new Broadway musical. I mean, this is huge.
Oh, it's humongous, yeah.
We were saying once too, like the canon of two women on Broadway, it's not that large, and so it is quite an honor. And you know, if the female producers, that sounds good to me. Like I'm just really excited. And they just put up our artwork this week, and how I always wanted this, right? And little girl, you know how many people would love to be in our shoes. So I'm treating it with great respect and hope we live up to it.
I'm looking forward to the day where I'm taking the subway and there's really terrible things drawn on my face.
You will have arrived.
That's the goal.
That's when I'll know that I've made it. I can't wait.
So these characters, Madeline, Helen, wow, they're a lot.
What makes you say that?
These are women who live very large, right? And they're very large characters to inhabit. But you also have to make them very human and build these real human relationships. I think you're doing that beautifully.
What
is it like, that balance? Because you do get to be extremely broad in the show as well.
I don't know, because it does feel like I'm waiting for somebody to say, no, that's too much. Like, please don't do that. But I love that we have this space where we get to do that.
Yeah.
And inherently, like, you have to bring yourself to it, otherwise it's not real. So I don't know technically what that is, where that, like, how to put words to that balance, but it is very much at the center of what we're doing.
You have to know that even when you're using the largest brush stroke, that it has to be based in something real.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can go in with a fine brush stroke. And usually, to Megan's point, if you bring yourself to it, it's always going to be grounded if you work from the inside out. So even the broadest things are based in truth. I think we're both really good at listening to each other on stage and talking with our eyes, and I really appreciate that as your scene partner.
Yeah.
That keeps it honest, even when we're doing the most ridiculous things.
Yeah.
I mean, not since Roxy and Velma have two showbiz ladies maybe rivaled each other but needed each other so much. It's such a fun dynamic. They're enemies at times, they're rivals, they come together. Like, it's a fun story.
Like any friendship, there are dynamics.
Yeah.
You know, theirs just happen to have, like, their range is a little maybe wider. But at the core, they love each other. Everything that drives what we do is because we want to impress the other one. We want, even, it might come across as like we want to top the other one, but it comes from a place of admiration and love. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
In every relationship, there are going to be times when you're in sync and you're not in sync, and you have to ride those waves. And I think with the two of them, eventually, you get on each other's nerves, especially with the people you love the most and feel safest with, right? So these two definitely have known each other for years, so that's all there. But ultimately, realizing it becomes on a surface level, I think, a bit of a buddy flick between these two fabulous women on a theatrical level.
Yeah.
And yes, and realizing that, oh, there's deep love, and you are my person, and I am yours, and the beauty in that.
This movie is also really known for incredible special effects
Yeah.
that you are sort of tasked with recreating on stage, and it's really fun to watch. What is the challenge of that like for you? And I'm sure it's sort of a process.
It's very fun because it's not something that I'm used to doing at all, being introduced to this illusion world. And from what I understand, a lot of these things are going to evolve even more for Broadway. So I'm really excited to see how these things are going to change.
But to be clear, you can't actually turn your head around, and you don't actually have a hole in
Maybe.
your
Of course
chest.
I just learned how.
That's right.
safely.
That we had
Yes.
a whole workshop.
Yes.
I am sitting here with a hole in my stomach as we speak. That's why I'm not drinking.
She's been she's been hiding it for however many
whole time,
years.
that's right.
We never knew.
Yeah, but I think we're magicians now. Is there a union we need to join?
We are multi-hyphenates now.
We are.
We are.
Illusionists, action stars.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
A singer who moves well. There's a lot of hyphens in there.
Paul Tazewell just made history as the first Black man to win the Oscar for Best Costume Design, but he's also a Tony Award winner. In fact, his designs can be seen right now on Broadway in the new hit musical, Death Becomes Her. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Award-winning costume designer Paul Tazewell's newest Broadway creations are for the musical comedy Death Becomes Her. I headed to his studio for a peek at his process. In the most extreme sense, do you think Death Becomes Her is the ultimate makeover show?
Yeah, I think that you could say that. I mean, it does bring up, serious questions around how we see ageism and youth and beauty, and also, femininity, and I think it is grappling with some serious issues in a very funny way.
A very funny way.
Yeah.
What appealed to you about working on this project? It has glamour and dark humor.
I loved the film with Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn and Bruce Willis. I mean, I fell in love with it. I remember cackling through the whole thing. Then to approach it as a musical with this wonderful cast, Megan Hilty, Jen Smart, they're amazing. Michelle Williams, that I dressed in The Color Purple, and now to dress her again, it's really a wonderful.
Tell me about some of the techniques or materials you used for the visual illusions of this show.
I would say the biggest design element, the strongest design element is the world of sparkle and glamour. Approaching all of those, I was making, our leading ladies look as amazing as possible. When you're faced with one of the characters gets shot in the stomach, and that is, that's a very iconic, memorable moment from the film. How it gets carried out for stage was, it took a lot of R&D, and we had to figure out what was going to actually show up theatrically. And so I think that people, it always gets a laugh, and I think that people are satisfied with, how we've approached that, as well as the twisted neck. I think that it all works. There's a little bit of prosthetics, so we're dipping into kind of the film world and marrying that with the theatrical world, and I certainly hope that people are satisfied.
What were your inspirations beyond the film? Because you got to both show them as the stars as frumpy and mousy, and then really the ultimate divas.
Early on, I made the decision that The color palette would be reflective of the potion that they drink.
The fountain of youth.
The fountain of youth, if you will, yeah. So the whole world of Viola, and even her name is, representative of this potion. Everyone that surrounds her within her castle, her community of Walking Dead, glamorous Walking Dead. And then anyone who is touched by Viola and her potion goes to that lavender or purple tone. It's rare that I have the opportunity to do something so uber glamorous. My work has been so varied, but I've had a huge amount of fun designing this.
When you did Summer, for example, you obviously used Donna Summer, but you also went to some other divas. Did you do that here as well?
Well, with the opening number, we're tapping into icons that are, kind of, Broadway icons and, performance icons that we kind of mimic in a way. They're all very playful, but also always looking at qualities of glamour that will read for an audience. And I don't know that there was anyone that was specific, but it was very important for to pull out the most glamorous representation of who Megan Hilty is, and then who Jen Simard is, and then create that for them, as they're playing Madeline and Helen.
I noticed when I was watching it that the ensemble, and they're called the Immortals, I think, their costumes change throughout the show. It's not just a static thing. Tell me about developing those costumes.
Well, what that is, the group of Immortals are really the chorus. I mean, it's kind of a Greek chorus surrounding Michelle Williams as Viola. I made the decision that in order to show them off, we would, clothe them in as little as possible. They're in bodysuits that are purple velvet with flesh tone cutouts. They are then sparkled as well. But each of those sinewy lines shows off their musculature and their athleticism, and projecting this very fashion-forward but very sexy, kind of body image. And then, all led by the wonderful Michelle Williams as Viola. She is completely decked out. Every time that she walks on stage, she's in another beaded gown. It's just a delight. So it's just wonderful. I mean, she starts in this amazing coat, wrapped in, black with crystal, kind of a crystal explosion front and back. It's almost like a geode because, then her head is peeking out of crystallized amethyst collar. So,
And no one wears it better.
I mean, you couldn't ask for somebody who would wear it better.
Well, since this show deals so much with immortality, I wanted to ask you if there is a fashion trend that you think will never die, but should.
I think sweatsuits and sweatpants on airplanes.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Thanks so much for staying with us for this latest episode of The Broadway Show. Glad you're here. We've talked about it before. Broadway is all about community. And right now, we're shining our spotlight on the stars of tomorrow, the future of the theater community. We're excited to tell you about a program we support at Juilliard. In an effort to provide access to arts education, Juilliard's MFA drama program has become tuition-free. And their fall 2024 class, known as the John Gore Broadway.com Fellows, are the first beneficiaries. I sat down with the dean and director of Juilliard's drama division. Let's just jump in for people who don't know and talk a little bit about MFA, what it is, and what you do here at Juilliard.
Well, at Juilliard we have a master's program, an MFA, Masters of Fine Arts, and a BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts program. And people who are in the MFA program already have an undergraduate degree. So it's a chance for people who've already been to college and have that degree to get some more specialized training in acting.
I think it's about honing your craft and just really going deep, and Juilliard does that very differently than other schools.
Here we're really committed to the theater, to the continuance of the theater, to making sure that we have actors who have the vocal and physical expressivity to really be on a stage. And what we try to do for our students is to give them the classroom experience, the performance opportunities in projects and in fully produced plays to really learn the craft, and things snowball. So what you learn in a voice class feeds on what you learn in a movement class, an Alexander class, and that all goes into your scene study, which goes into your projects, which go into what you have as an actor when you graduate.
Let's talk about students that want to come to Juilliard and opportunity. And there seems like there's a little more opportunity now if somebody needs some help but really wants to be here. We don't want there to be barriers in place for that.
Absolutely. Well, we have just been the recipients of an amazing set of philanthropic gifts that have allowed us to make our MFA degree completely tuition-free. It has already increased that sense of accessibility for people who applied who never would have applied before, applied last year. In fact, we had doubling in the amount of MFA students who applied, so that's an immediate testament to when that financial barrier is down, people feel that they can come.
It has to be incredible for all students who are here, obviously, but to know that that is not a barrier to be able to go and pursue your talent and your love and your passion and really what you want to put out into the world.
And I think it's in a couple of ways. One is to relieve that stress while people are here so that they don't have to be thinking about every waking moment, how they're going to try to get a job on some day that they're not rehearsing. So it really helps them be more here now, while it's something that we're very committed at Juilliard to making sure more and more of our students can have the privilege of working on their artistry, that art is a public good. Damien Wetzel, our president, always says, and these kind of gifts make that clear. Our MFA students often come with undergraduate debt already, so it was incredibly important that we be able to start with them in making the tuition free to come here.
Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsin Fidel. Let's get back to it.
'Cause you've been gone.
And Juliet continues to roar on Broadway. The hilarious take on Romeo and Juliet features some of the biggest and best pop songs of all time. Here's an exclusive musical performance from the Broadway.com studio.
Hi, I'm Maya Boyd. I played Juliet in & Juliet, and I will be singing Roar, one of my absolute favorite numbers in the show. I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I sat quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice, and that you pushed me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. You held me down, but I got up, already brushing off the dust. You hear that voice, you hear that sound, like thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up, get ready 'cause I've had enough. I see it all, I see it now. I got the eye of the tiger, a fighter, dancing through the fire, 'cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar louder, louder than a lion, 'cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. Roar.
And that's going to do it for us. But for tickets, or if you want to check out our extended cuts of all these interviews, head on over to Broadway.com. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.